She heard it through the wall. This haunted story comes from Reddit user Goatbusters BM. 4 years ago, I lived in a very large farmhouse that was converted into 2 apartments. The house was known as the Old Boys' Home. It was used to house boys with behavioral issues but was closed due to allegations of molestation. Anyway, I was living with my boyfriend and 3-year-old daughter at the time. My bedroom had a large fireplace that had been boarded up and painted over. I decided to push my bed up against it one day while I was rearranging things. It was like a headboard. That night, around 1 a.m. I had heard a small voice saying, "Mom, Mom, Mommy." I had sat up in bed but didn't see anything, so I reached over my boyfriend trying to grab my daughter and put her in our bed. I kept feeling around and I was still hearing the voice but I couldn't feel her. My boyfriend woke up and turned the bedside lamp on, asking me, "What the hell are you doing?" I explained that Amelia was trying to get in our bed and I was reaching for her. There was nobody there. My daughter was sound asleep in her room. Then the next night came. Around 1 a.m. again, my dog had started to whimper at outdoor, so my boyfriend got up to take him outside. You know that feeling in a bed when someone lies down next to you? Where the bed pushes in and there is a warmth in your back. I felt that, so I assumed my boyfriend had come back to bed. I rolled over, my boyfriend wasn't in the bed and I felt the fucking bed release pressure. Whatever was laying next to me has gotten up in that second. I moved my bed the next day to the other side of the room and I never had another incident in the 2 years I remained in that house. You're lucky I'm scared, too. He shared this story about a letter from a burglar who visited their home. Some random thief was in my house, who I spoke to, who left me a weird message, was sitting in my room at like 11:30 p.m. Heard lots of shit downstairs, assumed it was my mom. Heard her walk up the stairs to my room. Stop. I called out to her, she didn't say anything and walked downstairs. I went down about a half hour later to find a piece of paper with the words, "You're lucky I'm scared too," on it, and a whole bunch of shit was missing. Called Mom. She still hadn't arrived home from a dinner she was at with her friends. I called the cops and locked myself in the bathroom, but I think they left when they realized I was still home. Probably the most scared I've ever been when I was hiding in the bathroom. A ghost testing the waters. Redditor Mr. Tenor talks about their first night after moving into a haunted house. I currently live in a haunted house. I've heard voices, footsteps, lights have been turned on, off. One of the ghosts has a thing for silverware. I hear it clattering in the drawer all the time, and sometimes a knife or two will end up in the wrong slot in the drawer. But the strangest, scariest experience I had was the first night I spent in the house. I wasn't finished moving in, there were boxes everywhere, I didn't even have my mattress up there yet. I was bedding on an old futon mattress, watching a video on my phone, when I get the pins and needles feeling of my feet falling asleep. Except it wasn't on my feet, it was on the top of my head in the shape of a hand. I said, "Good night," turned off my light and tried to sleep. When I woke up, my closet door was ajar, but other than that everything was otherwise untouched. I guess whoever my unseen roommate is, just wanted to check out who I was on my first night. A reminder from the past. He shared this story to warn people about their childhood toys. When I was around 16, my rapidly growing family finally moved from the house I had spent my entire life in. As you would expect, we spent a lot of time fondly remembering things we used to do in the house as we were packing everything up. At some point I decided to go into the downstairs closet with a flashlight and read, something I used to do when I was younger to get some peace and quiet. Now, this is one of those deep closets that goes under the stairs. It went back around 8 feet and then had a left turn into a very low, maybe 3-foot high space. This space was largely occupied by a mountain of old blankets and stuffed animals. Of course, this is the most fluffy spot to sit and read. About an hour in, I shift a little to get comfortable and I hear a low, slow, warped, hoarse voice say, "You always make me happy." I flipped my shit, hit my head on the low ceiling, and practically broke the door down getting out. After hyperventilating and explaining to my family why there was no color left on my face, I went back to see what it was. It was my stuffed little bear from when I was 3 or 4 years old that I happened to lean on just right to press his belly. When I pressed his stomach again though, nothing. This poor bear I hadn't played with since I was a toddler used the last of its power, used its dying breath to tell me I made it happy. "You make me happy too, little bear. When you're not making me piss myself." A warning. This story comes from Reddit user My Name's Not Chase. I saw a dead soldier's ghost in my barracks room before I deployed. It was the guy's room who died on my company's last deployment, and I was the first to be issued it. He told me to be safe. He had half a head. I'm agnostic, but that makes me question it. I've had 2 other experiences that I'm not quite convinced about, but my great-grandma used to visit me in my dreams after she died. For like 15 years. New. The plane ride that never ends. He shared this story about losing track of time on a continental flight. I've been flying for almost 30 hours and the flight attendants won't stop crying. 30 hours ago I hopped on a late-night flight from New York heading to Los Angeles. After boarding I saw that I had an entire row to myself. Takeoff passed without incident, and